Hey, did you know that Lambdas are like onions? They have layers. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to deploy some using the AWS CDK. This video builds on a previous video that we did on how to build a Node.js Lambda function, and I'll link that up here so you can find it. Hey, if you're new around here, my name is Ryan. I'm an AWS certified solutions architect and developer, and my goal is to teach you modern serverless system design using AWS. Let's jump in. All right, so jumping into the code here, the first thing we'll do is we'll just define what a layer is. A layer is simply just a reusable piece of code that you intend to use in multiple places. In this case, it can be some sort of custom module or custom code that you've written, or it can just be like node modules or just some sort of package that you want to reuse. It's inefficient to package this with every single Lambda function that you want to make, so it makes sense that we're just going to use a shared layer that all of our Lambda functions can access. So the first thing we'll do is we'll jump into our previous repository where we just created this Node.js Lambda function. I'll have a link to this down in the description. We'll hop into this repository, and the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to make a directory in the lib folder called layers, and then we're going to make another directory inside of lib and inside of layers, and we'll just call it Node.js. The important thing to note is that the deepest folder in your structure is called Node.js. It has to be named this because this is the default node path folder structure. In our case, we're just going to use a simple node module called UUID. All UUID does is create a randomly generated string. So then we're just going to cd into our new folder. Once inside there, we're just going to npm init. We can just enter through all of this. So all this does is just create a package JSON. Then we're going to npm add UUID. All right, so the next thing that we'll do is we'll hop here into our Lambda function, and we're just going to import v4 as UUID v4 from UUID. It's going to yell at you because it can't find UUID because it's in a nested folder structure like this. You can just go ahead and ignore that. And then just to ensure that it's working, we're just going to generate a UUID, and we're going to call this UUID v4 function. This is just going to create the universal ID string for us and prove that it's working. All right, so next let's jump into our stack. In our stack right here, we'll just go ahead and create our layer. Layer is going to be equal to a new layer version. We can import it, or you can just use Typescript to automatically import it for you. Again, this is going to take in the context of this. It's going to take in the logical resource name. We'll just call it layer. The first and only required attribute is code. Code, we're just going to write code and tab. That will automatically import code from Lambda for us. Dot from asset, and here we're just going to reference where our layer is, which is ./lib/layers. Again, like I told you, Node.js has to be the deepest folder in the structure. Because it's called Node.js, just by pointing to the parent folder of layers, Lambda will know exactly what to do with it. The next attribute that we'll define is compatible runtimes. Compatible runtimes, of course, we're just going to say node. Runtime.node.js latest. The CDK will probably yell at us for using Node.js latest, but it's fine. The last thing we'll define here is layer version name, and we'll just call this Node.js layer. All right, so we've defined our layer. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to add our layer to our function. Layers, which is just equal to an array of layer. Simple enough. And then finally, bundling. And inside of bundling, we're going to declare external modules. And here, this is just going to be an array where we then reference UUID. The reason we have to define this here is because when we go to deploy the function, it's going to yell at us because it can't find UUID because it's obviously in a nested node modules folder. So we're just going to tell it to go ahead and ignore that import and don't worry about the fact that it can't find it. Okay, perfect. So let's cd back out to our root, and it looks like we can go ahead and just cdk deploy -- profile cloudmancer. If you guys are getting value from this, please don't forget to like the video, and then let me know down in the comments if there's any other videos about the CDK or anything AWS related that you want to see me make. Layers. And if you don't know what I mean when I'm typing profile cloudmancer here, you can check out this other video that I made that shows how to manage AWS CLI profiles and then use them with the CDK. All right, so let's deploy that. Oh, yep, it yelled at us for using Node.js latest. Don't forget that because we're using the Node.js function, we do have to have Docker running in the background. We'll give this a second to deploy. Nice. So let's go check it out in the console. All right, so here we are in the Lambda console. We can go here into the Node.js Lambda that we just created. We can see here that we actually have the layer and it was created, so that worked correctly. Go in here and we can see our index.js file that was created from our Typescript file. You can just hit test. We can do a sample test event and just hit invoke right here. And we can see right here generating UUID, and it just created that random UUID string. All right, and now you've got a layer that you can use between multiple functions. And again, you can do this with Node modules or even custom code that you write that you want to share between all of your Lambda functions. All right, so we'll jump back here into the code. We're just going to CDK destroy -- profile, whichever profile we used. All right, that got destroyed. We can go ahead and hop back here into the console, and we can see that our CloudFormation stack is gone. We can hop here over into Lambda, and we can see that we no longer have any of our Lambda functions. That about wraps up the video today. It was a pretty short one, but please don't forget to let me know down in the comments if there's any other ones that you want to see me make. Thanks for watching.